I think we're on. Okay. I don't know. Having trouble with this today. Our connection is kind of iffy. Hopefully it's gonna work. Um, we'll see what happens. It's always something new, right? If it's not if it's not YouTube, it's my connection that is giving me some troubles. But what are you gonna do? Okay, so I sent out an email, and I think I have a handle on what's going on with the classes. We are starting Thursday. Classes are at 9:30, as they were before. Um, Same room. Um, no class Monday, right? Because they are closed, obviously. Which is, there you go, right? We just get started, and then we're gonna stop for a while. So no class Monday, next Monday, and then I will be gone the following two classes. So the next Thursday and the Monday after that. So it basically, we're going to have Thursday class this Thursday, and then 2 more weeks and that Thursday, um, if that makes sense. And then we'll see. We'll see how it goes from there. Um, but I will do. I'm going to think about it a little bit. If I'm going to do class every day, I may not. Um, if I'm going to do class here every day, I still would like to do some class here because I think there may be some people that aren't quite ready to come back yet, and then there are times that you can't either, So it's nice to be able to um, come to a class, even if it's a different time. I noticed that even if we don't have that many people that sign in at the time, there do seem to be people that are watching it later after the fact. So it's probably still worthwhile to keep doing. We'll see. Yeah, but this may all change if depending on how things are going and how I feel about it. Um, I don't want to feel overtaxed by my responsibilities, but I'm not going to go back to teaching as much as I was. I don't believe, just because things are different. I don't think. Uh, I used to teach at a couple of companies. They had a yoga class. Um, one after one, at lunchtime, and then one after close of business. But I don't think most companies are doing that anymore. I think they are not allowing uh, other people to come in, which makes probably good sense right about now. So I don't know if we're going to ever go back to that. We'll see. Um, so I wanted to talk a little bit today about this idea of, um, you know, there is, there are a couple ways to look at this idea that we are all one, right? For some people, it can be kind of daunting, right? The idea that we are all one. Um, they perhaps have gone through their life feeling very special, right? That 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 they are unique, and that their trials and tribulations, their difficulties, are so much different and so much more important than everybody else, um, that they're really consumed by that, right? They don't really have much empathy or compassion for others because they live inside their head. They live in that place where their focus is simply on themselves. So, uh, I mean, as a yogi, you probably can see where we're going with this, right? Why this would be a problem. But for many people, they don't think this is a problem. This is a very common state of being. But as social creatures, as creatures in part of, and let's say if you weren't a social creature, perhaps it wouldn't be a problem, right? But as a social creature, it is. We are hardwired to be in a group, to be part of something bigger. We are, right? We are just little parts of a whole big thing, that have kind of separated off to work on our own situation, um, to learn and to grow in a different, um, circumstance, right? A different body, a different, um, time and place, a different, everything, right? Um, but the lessons we learn are universal. Right? So rather than feeling less than, um, rather than feeling that you somehow have to compete with the difficulties of others and, um, compare, right? Well, this thing happened to me, but well, it's this terrible thing happened to this other person. So what happened to me isn't so big. Um, Rather than think of it this way, let's think of it like we're all in this together. When we have a misfortune, when we have a difficulty, instead of focusing so much on our own misery, right? Turn your thoughts to, um, that whatever's happening to you has happened to so many people since the beginning of time. Um, your troubles are not unique. That doesn't mean they're not difficult. It doesn't mean they aren't impactful to you. They may be very difficult and very impactful to your life, but you'll get through them, right? Just as millions and millions of people have gotten through whatever you're going through since the beginning of time. Um, and rather than let that make you feel less special, let it make you feel supported. Um, Let it give you confidence. These people got through it, so can you. Um, there is nothing so difficult or shameful or terrible about what you're going through. It's simply the human condition. We have hard times, we have easier times, and then it starts back up again. Um, if it makes you feel better, everyone goes through this, right? Um, so you don't need to hold this as a precious gift, or a badge of honor, right? It is none of these things. It is simply the human condition. Um, to persevere and to get through whatever difficult, situation you have could be just as difficult as getting through what might be perceived as a very successful situation, right? Um, that's that's the funny thing, right? We can't tell what's going on with someone by looking from the outside. We certainly have seen many instances where people on the outside seem very successful, very put together, but on the inside, things are falling apart. Their life is a shambles. They're miserable. They're suicidal. Terrible things are happening, but we don't see that, right? And on the flip side, right, you may know people who are going through terrible tragedy in their life, something unimaginable, something that we would never want to go through. And they may be thriving. They may be, working and managing their stress level and taking the steps that they need to get through whatever situation this is. So again, it's not the situation's fault. Right? it isn't your fault. I mean, you may have made a bad choice, but maybe you didn't. Maybe you're just a victim of circumstance, right? And if you have made a bad decision, if you have done something wrong to bring on whatever misfortune is happening, know that, that too is human nature, right? In every situation, we're given a choice. We aren't always going to make the right choice. That's just the truth of it. If we were perfect, we wouldn't be here, right? We wouldn't be in this body. We would be ascended into um, back into that one, right? Which is perfect, which is um, all knowing, right? So that's the funny thing, right? That we start out perfect and all knowing, and then we come down here in these bodies and we don't know anything anymore. We've forgotten it all and we're starting over, right? And we're building our own little, I don't know what you'd call it. It's a it's a tunnel, I guess, right? We talk about people with tunnel vision. Well, that's indeed what we have, right? We build our way of seeing things, which is not clear, is not truthful. With yoga, we try to break that down. We try to bust that tunnel up so that we can get more of that truth and more of that light. But as fast as we're breaking it down, we're also building it right back up again, because that's the nature of our our life on earth here. We are limited in our knowledge and in our capacity. Right? So that's the you know that's the challenge. Right? How do we work on being unlimited in a limited space? Um, you can see the paradox there, right? You can see how this is never going to be perfectly resolved. Well, it will when we pass on, right? That is when we are perfectly resolved again. But for here, we are doing what we can. We're doing our best. Um, we are learning as we go. We are developing, right, the compassion. Um, hopefully, right? Not everybody does. Not everybody gets that that's what this is about. Some people are just very deep down in their misery and unhappiness. They can't see these opportunities for what they are. Um, they just see suffering. Right? But we know as yogis, suffering is optional, right? Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. So in this place, in this body, we will have pain. We will have physical pain, emotional pain, mental pain. I mean, we will suffer that pain, right? But we don't have to suffer beyond that. Um, the suffering comes when we fear the pain, when we dread the pain, when we try to hide from the pain, we pretend the pain's not happening. we we uh, we give up, right? Making connections for fear of the pain. Um, we have we have changed. We have given up um, a really important part of being human. Um, so, whatever pain you may be going through, whatever pain you may have ahead of you, know that we all are going to experience it, right? Loss, grief, hard times financially or physically with our health. Um, if you haven't experienced those things yet, you will, right? And so will everyone else. So let that be comforting to you that there is no one so great or so small that they will escape these things. Um, we will, all of us, have to go through them and go through them as well as we can. So, um, be ready. Or at least don't be surprised, right? Accept equanimity, right? Know that we will pass through these things, as have millions and millions and millions of people since the dawn of time. There is nothing so new about what we are going through. It doesn't mean it's not painful. It doesn't mean it's not difficult. It will be, um, but we will pass through to the next thing. And when we think of these things as challenges, as hurdles or mountains to be climbed, they lose some of their power to scare us, to make us feel um, powerless, right? We do. We have great power. How will we face these struggles, these challenges? Are we going to hide and pretend it's not happening, or are we going to stand our ground and fight and climb and get over it? Um, I know what I'm going to do, and I know what I hope you will do as well. Um, just keep climbing. Right? All right, let's do some asana. Let's sit and breathe a little. We're going to do a little pranayama. Um, so pranayama, when we're doing class at Garfield Park, we're going to have masks, which means we're probably going to do a lot of pranayama because it's going to be a little difficult to do that sort of deep, deep breathing. But that's okay. We can certainly still do all of the things we want to do. We just will maybe skip the pranayama. And I will have you work on that on your own because it's important and it's a good way to kind of get things going in the body. Um, so important to do, but not necessarily important to do at a certain time. You can really do it anytime. Another time I wouldn't maybe do it. Well, I wouldn't even say that. You could certainly do pranayama before you go to bed, but uh, give it a little time, right? Give yourself a little space and time because pranayama does kind of move the energy and get it going. So you might have a little trouble settling down to sleep after a big pranayama. Um, so sitting tall, relax through the shoulders, breathe. And then just drop the chin down. Back up, keep breathing. Maybe do, 4 in, 4 back out. Just a steady, even breath. And then drop the head again. and then back up. Let's move the head around. Make a big circle. Back. Make a couple circles one direction and then the opposite way. And we're going to do seated cat-cow. So hands are on the knees. We're inhaling and kind of pulling the shoulders back, bringing the chest forward, gaze up. Exhale, coming back, pulling the shoulders forward, drawing the belly in. So I really like this version of cat-cow because I think you can really focus on this whole abdominal area when you're doing your exhale. And this is the thing, right? Because sometimes when we're doing this sort of abdominal thing, for some reason people want to inhale when they're tightening this area, which is kind of counterintuitive. But this one, right, so you're doing this exhale. Part of the exhale is we're tightening, starting down, lower, pelvic area, tightening all the way up, bringing everything under, right, the ribs as much as you can. And that's part of this sort of movement where we're rounding the spine a little bit. We're making this kind of a C shape with the body. And then releasing as that inhale. Exhaling. That inhale. Right? So I know we've done the Agnisara before, and this is kind of a moving Agnisara, which can sometimes be a little more accessible, a little easier to kind of get into than just straight doing this, especially if you feel like you're kind of all over the place with what's happening down here with the abdominals, right? Sometimes they aren't very engaged. Sometimes we don't feel like we have a lot of control over how they're moving. So this is one way to develop it, right? You have some structure to it. You've got your hands here to kind of support you. It's a good way to begin. But this core strength and this abdominal development is so important for everything, right, in our body, for your posture, for your elimination, for your digestion. All of these things are benefited by a strong abdominal core area. Much of what we do in yoga is designed to help this, is designed to tone this area, to stimulate this area. But there's some things that specifically target that, and that's one of them. This, Agnisara, this anything we're sort of drawing this in, bringing this abdominal area into movement, right? And connection, right? So being aware of how it moves is half the battle, right? Take a breath, and then we're just kind of walking the hands down or bring them out in front. So that's a thing, right? We say, you can't change what you don't know, right? If you don't know what the problem is, you can't change it. Same thing with our muscles and muscle groups. If you're not aware of where they are and how to fire them up, how to stimulate them and move them, how can you develop them? You can't. So making that connection between the mind telling something to move and it actually moving can be a little trick. But once you've made the connection, then we wear that groove in, just like um, a path that you wear, in your yard. If you walk the same way again and again and again, that's what we're going for. Right? Make that a strong connection. And then moving back up. Let's bring the legs about the width of the mat. Um, bring that right leg in, and we're gonna either bring it down so the foot is by the thigh, or you can have it on top. And we're going to turn slightly so we're facing the extended leg. I have the left leg, right? But it might be different here. Arms lift, fold forward. Back up. Switch around. Inhale and fold. Back up, both legs out in front. Breath in and fold. Let's point and flex the feet. Rotate through the ankles, one way and the other. And then bend the knees. We're going to lower down onto the mat. And then we're going to bring the right leg up. Let's just hold the leg here. Hands can be by your side. And then we're lowering. So that leg is, kind of in line with the knee, but you could do a little lower too if you want. And then lastly, we're going to bring this down. We want to just hover off the ground, an inch or so, and breathe. And then lower the leg down. Take a few breaths. Switching it around. The right knee is bent, left leg is extended, or whichever one you were doing before. And then bringing it down, halfway, thereabouts. And then lower still. And then set the leg down. Bend both knees. We're going to bring them in to the chest. Just hug it in. Rock a little bit side to side. Arms out to a T or goalpost arms. Knees go right. Center again, and then knees go left. Back to center. Extend the legs, hands by your side, and then we can lower down. Go one at a time or both legs together. And then find a comfortable place to rest for Shavasana. Breathe and relax. So, no matter what measure you take, there is someone who is better off than you, someone that is worse off than you, someone that is more successful than you, someone that is poorer than you, someone that is richer than you, someone who has lost more than you, and someone who has never lost yet, right? There is Nothing so special about our suffering. There is nothing so not special about it either. It simply is. Um, there's no badge of honor for suffering. There's no award for the most, the least suffering. Right? There's none of these things. To try to compare our difficulties with that of others is fruitless. What's important is, how do we manage it? Right? And I know you know people like this where their life looks very, very simple to you, very, very easy, but they struggle. They struggle very hard. Um, for whatever reason, they aren't equipped to deal with the life they're living. Um, and other people, right, that look like they should be struggling, they should be flailing, and they're coping beautifully. They are equipped. Um, so rather than worry about changing your life, right, changing the inevitability of your life, right, avoiding the troubles and the difficulties, how about we work on preparing ourselves to cope with them, working on our attitude toward them, our reaction to the difficulties in our life, coping and learning um, mechanisms to allow us to pass through these things and really learn from them rather than um, just give up. These things will last our whole life, right? We will improve our ability to do all of these things. It's much like in yoga, right? We work on some of these asana, we work on the strength building and the flexibility, um, so that we can do the poses better, so that we can improve and our body is more capable for not just poses, right? I mean, because yoga is great, but what about in your life? What about when you reach up for that thing on the top shelf? What about when you need to bend over and pick something up? What about getting up and out of a chair, right? Have you noticed that you make that sound when you collapse in a chair? Um, my, my husband does that, and he's like, I hate that sound. That's an old person sound. Well, I mean, it's a sound, right? It's a sound of relaxing when we sit down in the chair. Well, I mean, we want to be able to get up and down out of that chair for the rest of our life, right? We want to be able to get up and down those steps. We want to be able to do all of these things, and that's what this is for. It's not just because you want to do a beautiful um, warrior one, or a great forward fold. We want these to be functional. In the same way, we want to develop our equanimity, develop our compassion and our understanding, so that we live our best life and we help others around us as well. We influence them maybe with our calm and our um, relaxed attitude, right? We're not panicked. You don't need to panic either. Um, we just get through it. So, moving a bit, fingers and toes, hands and feet. Coming up to a seat if you want, or you could stay on your mat too, because we're going to do or meditation after, and you might want to lay down for that. I don't know. Deep breath in and out. Thank you for taking time for yoga in your morning and for sharing that time with me. I hope that you have a very good Tuesday. Namaste. Great. Thank you so much. And now, 5 minutes of meditation. So we're sitting comfortably, relaxed through the body, the shoulders, steady with shoulders right over the hips, right? We don't want to be slouching, but we don't want to feel a lot of strain. So if sitting up is a problem right now, find a chair or lean against the wall. That's fine. Or lay on the mat. It's all good. We want to feel relaxed, but also awake. If you fall asleep during meditation, I mean, I'm going to say it doesn't really count as meditation then. It's a little nap, but there's nothing wrong with that either. So just take your pick. Close the eyes, relaxed, looking for that peaceful focus, not strong focus, right? Because the strong focus, when you get distracted, and you will, it's jarring, right? And then we start getting worried about that. Why can't I focus? Whatever. Make it a soft focus on nothing, right? So it doesn't have to stay. Things will change, but you're coming back to this blank, this clear space. All right, coming back from that, breathe in and out. I don't think I said hi to Susan and Ruth and Deb. Thank you for making class. And I will be back tomorrow. That's Wednesday, right? And then the next day is Thursday. So tomorrow will be the last online class for a little bit. I think I'm going to take off for Friday and the weekend, and then I got some stuff to do before I go on vacation. So I think that might be it till I come back. But we'll see. So anyway, I'll be here tomorrow. See you then.